Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drayhon, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Character Concept. We take a look at many different concepts for characters beyond just copying and pasting your favorite fantasy characters from your favorite source of media. And today we are looking at a very popular concept that has flooded the internet. The Sorlock. What is a Sorlock? Well, a Sorlock is a multi-class character taking the levels of Sorcerer and Warlock and mixing them together in a different combination depending on what style the Sorlock user wants. The Sorcerer's Fount of Magic feature is what they have mainly been going after, and taking the Warlock spell slots and converting them into sorcery points to use for more Sorcerer spell slots or metamagic option features. And, well, there are a few good combinations, and some people have gone as far as using some of the celestial subclasses of either class to make what is called a Coke Lock? That is such a stupid name. Why? Because of the Greater Restoration being able to take a level of exhaustion away. How does that translate to... No, it doesn't make any sense. Drugs? No, it doesn't make any form of sense. If anything, that would cause more exhaustion. Anyway, names aside, the Sorlock is still a rather decent build, and it actually had me think, what is the best Sorcerer-Warlock combination? And, well, I think I've come up with something. Alright, so the goals for this build are going to be race, background, sorcerer, warlock, and the different feats that we can get in order to make this Sorlock work. We need the sorcerer's metamagic options, subclass, and, well, the number of levels specific to it. So we're going to need at least 3 levels of sorcerer. For the warlock, we need the invocations, pact boon, and subclass, as well as the number of levels. Once again, I don't know why I put that in a list. Minimum of 3 levels to get the pact boon. So now that we know what we need, let's go ahead and get started. And unfortunately, we're not going to be using these stats. We're just going to go over the different features of each of these points. We're not going to worry about ability scores. So, without further ado, let's get building. Alright, so first off is race. And it was almost going to be a conversation about which was better, the Satia or the Yuan-Ti. Because of their magic resistance feature, giving them advantage on saving throws against spells. And I was going to say how the Satia was the more powerful race because of their Fey creature type, making them immune to spells such as Charm Person, Dominate Person, and Hold Person, and Calm Emotions, which target only humanoids. But unfortunately, there is one race that outranks the Satia, the Vedalken. The Vedalken gives us a 30-foot walking speed, proficiencies in sleight of hand, vehicles, and also some languages, Vedalken, Common, and one other. And the tireless precision actually gives us a bonus to our ability checks, which is pretty useful. We also get partially amphibious, which lets us breathe underwater for about an extra hour, I think. That's not important for the build. The important feature from the Vedalken is the Vedalken Dispassion. This is more powerful than magic resistance. Why? Vedalken Dispassion gives us advantage on all intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Not just the spells. Say you're going up against a dragon. It uses Frightful Presence. You have advantage on that saving throw. Succubus, its charm ability, you have advantage against. How about a Mind Flayer's Psionic Blast? Well, guess what? You have advantage on that as well. Now, while you don't have advantage on your physical saves, Strength, Dexterity, Constitution, you do have advantage on those mental stats, which are a little bit more important in a lot of cases, especially since you've got a lot of monsters that go against those type of abilities for their save DCs. So the Vedalken overall is just the better race. Next up is background, and while backgrounds normally wouldn't matter in a Sorlock build, the book Strixhaven, A Curriculum of Chaos introduced the Strixhaven student background, which gives us the feature of automatically grabbing a feat, similar to Magic Initiate. Also, it's similar to the Ravnica guild backgrounds, as it gives us access to more spells for our spell lists. So, with that being said, we get more access to spells. What background best suits our Sorlock? Well, that would have to be the Quandrix student. Quandrix student gives us skills in Arcana and Nature. Calligrapher's Tools is the one I picked because it seemed a little bit more useful. One more language of choice, and of course the Quandrix Initiate feature, which gives us access to more spells, like I've stated. But since it gives automatic spells like Druidcraft, which normally are not part of the Sorcerer or Warlock spell list, I decided to go with it. In addition to the added bonus of being able to choose a first level spell from the Druid or Wizard class spell list, which in total gives us access to 12 additional spells to choose from. At the end of the video, I will be going over the recommended spells that you would want for your Sorlock. So I will be making sure to mention the spells that you would probably choose for the Strixhaven student. But tangent aside, let us move on to Sorcerer. Now, the Sorcerer is actually pretty easy to choose. You would either need 10 or 12 levels, depending on your Warlock patron. You would get the origin known as Divine Soul. This will give us access to Cleric spells. The whole entire Cleric spell list can be our Sorcerer spell list as well. So we automatically get access to Greater Restoration, which will make our tireless Vedalken much more powerful. Like I said, we get access to Divine Magic. We also are favored by the gods, which gives us an increased ability check, I believe. And also Empowered Healing. Our healing spells gain a little bit of a bonus as well. I believe when you use a healing spell, you're able to choose another creature and have their roll one of their hit die, and they increase their hit points equal to the roll plus your spellcasting modifier. Again, if I remember correctly. Alright, and finally we need our meta magic options. Heighten Spell, Twin Spell, and Quicken Spell are going to be our best bets for this build. Heighten Spell makes it harder for our enemies to make their saves. Twin Spell allows us to make 2 targets instead of just 1 target. And Quicken Spell will give us the ability to use a bonus action to cast a spell instead of our main action, which in turn will give us access on being able to cast more spells. Alright, Warlock. This was the trickier part. It was actually a 3-way tie between 3 different patrons. The most beloved patron for this type of build is the Hexblade, and I honestly do not blame them. Because the Hexblade Warlock gives us access to Hexblade's Curse, Hex Warrior, and the Accursed Spectre once we get to 8 levels of this patron, which honestly is kind of broken in some aspects, but it's not the most broken. The Archfey was actually going to be a good contender with Fey Presence and Misty Escape, as well as Beguiling Defenses, giving us access to advantage against charm effects. But thanks to the Vedalken already giving us that is also not a problem. So I instead went for the Genie patron. We get an expanded spell list depending on our Genie's Vessel, which lets us hide inside of our Genie's Vessel for a certain amount of time. This will give us ample protection during our short rests to regain our spell slots. We also get the Elemental Gift feature, which allows us to add more damage to our spells. Was it spells? No, it wasn't spells. I think it was our physical attacks. As well as the Sanctuary Vessel, which lets us choose how many other people can hide inside of our vessel with us. Which, honestly, is really good. Imagine having a party full of Sorcerer Warlocks. You would have an unstoppable force just by having the Genie Warlock. Have a tank person carry the vessel with them into a secluded area, into a private area, and then just spring out of the vessel with the rest of the party and just take everybody out. It would be insane. But I thought that the Genie would be the most obvious for that reason, seeing as that Genie's Vessel would be the most useful feature. But the problem arose when I needed to choose a Genie. I ended up choosing the Dao, which made the most sense since it gave us access to a couple extra spells from the expanded spell list that we normally would not have access to. Next is Feats, and I thought that the best one to go with would be the Strixhaven Mascot, which would give us access to the Find Familiar spell automatically, and since we chose Quandrix, we'd get access to this guy, the Fractal Mascot. We also should grab the Warcaster, just to give us advantage on our concentration saving throws, as well as a few other abilities that are kind of useful. Alright, and I think that is it for the main build. So, let's go over what we have. The final results. We have Vedalken as our race, with a Vedalken disposition being the main feature that is giving us our power. The Quandrix student gives us more spells to work with, thanks to the Quandrix initiate. Divine Soul Sorcerer of Neutrality, giving us one extra spell, the Protection from Evil and Good, if I remember correctly. Divine Magic, giving us access to the Cleric spell list. And Empowered Healing to give us a little extra healing as well. Metamagic options, Heightened Spell, Twin Spell, and Quicken Spell. 10 levels of Warlock give us the Genie Patron, with an expanded spell list of the Tao, Genie's Vessel for protection against outside forces, while we take our short rest to regain our Warlock spell slots repeatedly and indefinitely for as long as we are able to use our Fount of Magic feature to create new spell slots for our sorcerer, or just sorcery points in general, from the Warlock spell slots of their Pact Magic feature. Pact Boon, Pact of the Blade, so we can summon any weapon that we desire. Eldritch Invocations will be Armor of Shadows, Devil's Sight, Thirsting Blade, Eldritch Smite, and Eldritch Mind. Alright, now for our spells. For Strixhaven Initiate and Strixhaven Mascot, grab the Druidcraft and Guidance spells. Also grab Hideous Laughter and Find Familiar thanks to Strixhaven Mascot. Hideous Laughter will come from the Wizard spell list that we gained access to thanks to Strixhaven Initiate being from Quandrix. Now for the main spells. For your sorcerer spells, grab the following: Cantrips, Chill Touch, Sword Burst, Firebolt, Green Flame Blade, Mind Sliver, and Light. First level, Burning Hands, Guiding Bolt, Shield, Silvery Barbs, and Sleep. Second level, Suggestion, and the spell Wither and Bloom. For third level, Mass Healing Word, and Spirit Guardians. For fourth level, turn those exhaustion points against your foes with Sickening Radiance. And finally, your fifth level spell, Greater Restoration. For your Warlock spells, even though you probably won't use these often, this is mostly just an excuse to grab more cantrips: Eldritch Blast, Toll the Dead, Blade Ward, and True Strike. At first level, you'll get Armor of Agathis, Hellish Rebuke, and Hex. Second level, Crown of Madness and Darkness. Third level, Counterspell and Summon Lesser Demons. Fourth level, grab Banishment. And finally, at fifth level, Danse Macabre and Innovation will be the perfect spells for the Warlock. And with that, we are finally done with the ultimate Sorlock build. Now, I'm sure there are some better spells to choose, and I'm sure that you all will make sure to put that down in the comment section below. Now, there was one problem I did have with this particular build. While it did make sense from a mechanic standpoint, I did not see anything as far as a lore standpoint. Everything was so muddled, it actually looked ugly. So, thanks to Dessus and Dragons... Oops, hold on. Okay, thanks to the channel Dessus and Dragons, more importantly, one of the men from that channel, Chirog? Chirag Asnani? This guy was from Twitter. He actually responded to my, plight. At Chiggy said what? I think I'm just going to call him Chiggy, since I can't pronounce his name at all. He actually gave me the following backstory. Vedalken are naturally scientific-minded and have a drive to improve oneself, which makes them great students. So that ties in with the Quandrix Initiate, and I kind of figured that. I was actually going to go for a professor who used to be a student, but this was actually a lot better. And I actually chuckled when I read this, because I can't believe I never thought of it. The Vedalken can't afford to go to magic school, so got sponsored by a genie, known for wealth. In exchange, he must nurture a divine soul inside him. Think Celestial Egg. That was brilliant. Thank you once again, Chiggy, for that excellent backstory combination. Check out Decius and Dragons while you are at it, and, well, I'm gonna say it actually sounds like a pretty good channel. I'd love hearing about more Dungeons & Dragons YouTube channels, and honestly, this one's different. And I might have more questions for Chiggy in the future, because, well, he's been really helpful, and, well, it's more for lore things, but anyway, I am rambling, and I have kept you all long enough. Thank you once again for watching this video, and thank you, Decius and Dragons, for helping me with the backstory. Until next time, my dear viewers, this has been Drayhan, and I am offline.